I've been wanting to sort out a 3-jaw and a 4-jaw chuck for the Pultra P type for some time. Most of the ones I've seen fit like this with the drawbar, but I've managed to get hold of one that fits to the thread of the spindle. But the problem is, because I've had to put my lathe close to the wall, I've only got probably 3-inch gap, so I can't pull the drawbar out. But I've got a collet which goes right in at the way. It's totally flush. So take the shroud off, thread protector, then I can make that. The problem came that if I wanted to turn something oval, I could do that, no bother at all with this, because it was doing that. So what I did was strip the lathe apart, and not the lathe, strip the chuck apart, you do is take the 3 jaws off, and there's 3 screws in there which screw this to the chuck itself. Mounted this in the lathe without the chuck on, and then turned a fraction of it down till this mating face was flush, and not flush, was as good as I can get it on a DTI. Put it back together, and I've got about a quarter of a 0.1 of a 0.0, can't remember now. That's the gauge I've used, and it was about a quarter of 1 notch, so I'm chuffed to bits with that. For a 3-jaw chuck, that's quite good. So the next thing was mounting the 4-jaw. I could have used this backplate, opened it up to suit, or got a blank arbor and threaded it and used the drawbar. But I decided in the end to make a backplate. The worst problem came was I had to put a 20-degree taper inside there, and a 7/8 by 26 thread. The thread is only about 6mm deep with a recess, and then you've got the taper. That was the worst bit, fathom out how to do that. I done all that on the Myford, and then again I mounted it like so and turned the face off, and again with the set it up with the DTI, although I'm waiting for some bolts to come to be able to mount this, so I can't check it, but that is pretty accurate. But once I got the bolts and drilled the holes, but I've also, this is a carrier plate, and sometimes they call it a catch plate. If you have a look in there, it's got the same taper and the same thread, and I've got one, somebody's sending me one, so if this doesn't work I can use this and just turn it into a it's thick enough to turn it down a fraction, so I've got a register here. And I can just use that as a back plate for the 4-jaw chuck. I mean, the 4-jaw chuck doesn't have to be totally as accurate as the 3-jaw, because you set each jaw up individually, so you dial it in, so it doesn't have to be quite that accurate, but the more accurate I can get it, the happier I shall be. I've not seen one that screwed onto the spindle before. Whether it makes it any better or not, I don't know. But it's worth a try, see. And then when it's not in use, I've got a couple of spare thread protectors or shrouds or whatever you want to call them in a box, so if anybody's short of one, give me a shout. Hope that was informative. Thank you very much.